Hi friends, Jess here. Today I want to talk to you about one of my food and cooking philosophies, and that is an idea about cooking. I see cooking on a spectrum. And so two ideas around that. I see cooking on a spectrum in terms of cooking versus meal planning, like intuitive cooking and planning versus meal planning and planning everything out really well. And then I also see it on a spectrum of opportunity. So I really believe that cooking is an opportunity because it's one thing you can do that can bring so many more other things that you want in your life into your life on a daily basis. And so I'm going to talk about these two ideas of cooking on a spectrum and how I see this. So the first one is about cooking and meal planning. And this is in response to questions I get about, like, do I meal plan? And so when I think about meal planning, or I think when people ask me that, they're thinking about, like, do you look up a bunch of recipes, gather all the ingredients, make one big list, shop for the food, and then cook those recipes each week, every night, and you have it all planned out? And the short answer is no, I do not do that on a regular basis. Now, I do think that that sounds fun. Like, that sounds enjoyable to me, that sounds fun to me, but that also takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I don't always have all that time and effort to put into it. And so when I think about cooking, I see it on a spectrum, and I see the spectrum as having these three different parts. And one of those is, how much time do you have? Another part is, who and how many people are you cooking for? And then the final part is just the simplicity of the food versus the intricacy of the food. And so over the last couple years, as I've been thinking about how would I teach somebody to cook, where would I start teaching them, I decided that I would start teaching them at the bottom of this spectrum. So when you don't have a lot of time, when you're just cooking for yourself, and when you just want a simple, healthy, delicious meal, or as I would call it, a craveable, veggie-centric everyday meal, that's where I want to start teaching people to cook, because I really believe that everyone should be able to do this, because it doesn't take that much time, it doesn't take that much effort if you know what to make and how to do it, and you've practiced it enough that it's just ingrained into you. You can do this on a regular basis. And so that's what my first course is all about. That's where I started, that's where I want to start, and I am hopeful that if I can continue to do this, I can take people on the journey of moving up that spectrum. So moving up towards cooking for one person, cooking for a small group, cooking for a family, cooking for, a dinner party, move up the spectrum, or when I have more time, then I have more time to spend on that, or when I want to make more intricate recipes that require a little bit more planning, I can move up that spectrum in that way. And so ideally, I want to be able to take people on a journey of mastering these basic, simple, I don't have time techniques, and then all the way up towards more exciting, more intricate, more people, all that other kind of cooking. So I want to say that, I'm totally obsessed with food, so I live everywhere on this spectrum. I cook for myself most of the time, but I also cook for dinner parties. I've worked for catering events where we're cooking for hundreds of people. I will spend a lot of time just cooking for myself on something intricate, and I generally tend towards more simple foods, but I like things that are also sometimes complex, and I love a good project. I'll spend a whole weekend canning tomatoes, or I will make my own sourdough bread, which takes, between a week and a month, depending on how you calculate it. But I really want to start at the bottom of the spectrum, because I really believe that everybody should be able to cook that way. And the reason that the bottom of the spectrum I also think is really powerful is that it allows you to have a lot less stress and be like, okay, you know what? I don't have time this week. I still know that I can make a healthy, delicious meal, and it can be really simple. And when I have time, I can look at that more intricate meal planning and looking up the recipes and putting the whole list together and cooking day by day. I can see that as something fun that I like to do sometimes, starting off as a single person. I do think when you're cooking for a family, it does require a bit more planning, because you're buying a bigger quantity of food. There's more chance of wasting it, and you have other people you're feeding, other factors, and so it does take more of a plan, more meal planning to be able to do that. So a very quick example, right now I do not have a lot of time to cook, and so even though cooking is really important to me, cooking is fun, I don't have a ton of time right now because I'm building this course and making these videos, and so, but I'm still cooking because it's still important, and so I'm cooking very simple food that doesn't take me much time, that still satisfies me, that still tastes really good, and is also very healthy. And so my back pocket cooking plan that I revert to when I don't have time like this is I make a big saute bowl every single morning for breakfast, which we will learn in my course. I also then will use food from my freezer, so broths or other curries that I've made and stored because I know I'm not going to have a lot of time this week. And then I will make very delicious dressings paired with very simple salads and a few other ingredients, and then, you know, a few things here and there. But I can really go to the store, shop for the week, and I don't have to put a lot of time into it. I know what I can make, and I buy the right amount, and it just is ingrained, which is intuitive cooking at its finest, and that's where I'm gonna help you get to. So that's my basic idea about cooking as a spectrum in terms of cooking versus meal planning. So there's one additional thing I wanted to talk about in relation to cooking on a spectrum, and that's related to cooking as an opportunity. So I really fundamentally see cooking as an opportunity that is one thing that we can do every single day that allows us to bring more of a lot of things that we want into our lives. So I see cooking as this one thing you can do that can incorporate all these other things. And so I really believe that intuitive cooking is the foundation to living your best life every single day. And your best life powered by cooking can include A, pleasure, delight, and deliciousness, B, good health, C, self-sufficiency, so just feeling good about the fact that you can do something every day that you did all by yourself, i.e. creating and cooking a really healthy meal. 4 is mindfulness and presence. I think cooking is an opportunity to be really mindful and present. Meaningful connection with people in the community. That has a lot of things under that umbrella, but meaningful connection really through your food is a huge opportunity. Creativity, so getting to use your creative juices and make something up, dream something up, and bring it to life in terms of something you can eat. And then finally, treating the planet really well, and there's a whole host of opportunities within that. But so I believe that cooking and eating every single day, 3 times a day, is an opportunity for all 7 of those things, and even more beyond that. But it's an opportunity, right? So it doesn't mean that you're gonna have all 7 of those amazing things in every single meal that you eat. Like, of course not. At the base level, food is fuel that we need to survive. And so sometimes you're just gonna have to eat to get by. But you have the opportunity 3 times a day to potentially have 1 or more of those things in your meal. And you have the opportunity to exercise some of your values and live some of your values through what you choose to eat or cook or make, because you get to choose what you eat and cook and make. And so I really see a lot of power in that and a lot of excitement in that, because it's an opportunity. And so I love opportunities. I like to make the most of them, and I like to do that in my food. So, but viewing it on a spectrum to me is powerful, because it's like, well, of course, I'm not gonna live at the far end of the spectrum every single meal, every single time. But you know what? This time I'm gonna be a little more creative, or this time I'm gonna be a little bit more mindful, or this time I'm gonna, support a small farmer and be mindful, like 2 of the 7 or whatever it is. And so I like to view it on that spectrum, because that just makes it more livable, more realistic, to incorporate that into my life and encourage you to incorporate it into yours. So that's another place where I see cooking on a spectrum.